Alrighty, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're live streaming on social media, on YouTube, and here in the Zoom room. So do us a favor, type in where you're watching us from, and we're going to give you a quick timer so you can check and see if your guests have arrived yet. Alrighty, for the benefit of those people who do not speak fluent English, we do have closed captions for today's session in the Zoom room and on playback and YouTube, so have a quick listen to this.
Por favor, vaya a la parte inferior de la pantalla en Zoom o YouTube y haga clic en subtítulos para leer en español.
Kérlek, menjünk képernyő aljára, a Zoomon vagy a YouTube-on, a Closed Caption részre, és ott el tudod olvasni magyarul a feliratot.
Silakan klik di layar bawah pada Zoom atau YouTube dan klik caption untuk membaca dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Pour les sous-titres en français, veuillez cliquer au bas de votre écran Zoom ou YouTube sur CC ou Closed Captions.
Zoom または YouTube の画面の下部に移動し、字幕をクリックして日本語で読んでください。
請到屏幕底部點閱隱藏字幕以閱讀中文。
Παρακαλώ πηγαίνετε στο κάτω μέρος της οθόνης, στο Zoom ή στο YouTube και κάντε κλικ στους υπότιτλους για να τα διαβάσετε στα ελληνικά.
請到屏幕底部點擊隱藏字幕以閱讀中文.
אנא עברו לתחתית המסך בזום וביוטיוב ולחצו על תרגום לכתוביות בעברית.
Proszę zejść na dół ekranu na Zoomie lub YouTubie i kliknąć napisy, żeby przeczytać po polsku.
Beautiful. So ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Firth, one of the founding Field Advisory Board members and Crowns with the company. And it's my pleasure this time every week to host our founder, Steve Scott. If you don't know Steve was behind pretty much every Hollywood star you've ever seen on television doing a promotion or advertisement in infomercials. One of the most respected people in direct response television. If you've ever seen the Total Gym, for example, which everyone has, billions in sales, that was Steve. Now, Steve and I met about 18 years ago when he was pioneering the research space in the glutathione nutrition space. And then, of course, Steve and I have become very close friends, and I helped him to find one of the key investors for the company to kick off Numi. Now we're in 74 countries, and I don't know anyone who is as well prepared to get you to understand about the Numi breakthrough than our founder, Steve Scott. So with that, over to you, Steve.
Hey there. Hello, and welcome, everybody. And it's so good to be back. We've been pretty inconsistent on our calls. Summertime wreaks havoc on schedules all over the world, it turns out. Europeans typically take 2 to 3 to 4 weeks during the summer. And but it's good to be here. I know that in the Southern Hemisphere, it hasn't been summer, it's been winter. So you'll be going into spring as we go into our fall. Fall is my favorite time of year here in Utah in the mountains. Everything turns just so gorgeous. Yellows, golds, reds, and lots of trees. Just where I am, we have hundreds and hundreds of trees, and we've got evergreens that stay green all year round, but we've got aspens and oaks and maples, and they all turn different colors, the leaves in the fall, and it's just gorgeous. A lot of wonderful things going on. I'm having more and more interface with our medical board and our science group, and you know, it's been amazing to see where how our product works. It's not a question of does it work? It works unbelievably well. And if you haven't heard, we've now been approved by an organization called TruShield. TruShield is in the same space as NSF and WADA and the other anti-doping groups. They have now examined our products not for 300 banned substances like their competitors look at, but rather for over 500. and they have now certified us for sport. What does that mean? Well, they've been busy working out with the NFL, Major League Baseball, and the Olympics. And here, I think Michael's going to show us something. Here it comes. There it is, TruShield certified. So why is that so important? Until now, even though I've had pro athletes and even the coach of one of the top ranked National Football League teams and his top trainer, the trainer's been on our product since I was making lab batches back in 2018. And he became just a real believer and fan after seeing so much stuff. He's one of the top trainers in the world. He used to train a Major League Baseball team, the Arizona Diamondbacks, and the Arizona Cardinals, an NFL football team, at the same time. He was the key trainer. Now he is with Detroit, and he and Dan Campbell, who is the coach, Brett took the product to him when he decided to go with Dan in the coaching or in the training for Detroit's football team. And Dan fell in love with the product. He calls it his miracle product. And then recently, Brett gave him our iteration that will be in our PRP program, which is a professional program. It's a little higher price, but a little higher concentration. And he came back into the trainer's office, Brett Fisher, and he said, "Wow, you've given me another miracle. This is unbelievable." So we've had this great product for athletes. As many of you know, one of our medical board members is Dr. Osorio in Spain, and he has 25 sports medicine clinics throughout Europe. And his clients, for the most part, are pro athletes, soccer players, rugby players, and so on, and then world-class amateur athletes. Two of his marathoners took second and third in the world championship last year. And so he has been one of the fans of our science and technology for a long time. In fact, he found he had a finding that was, he said, one of the biggest breakthroughs and most remarkable things he's ever seen. That is, for conditioned runners, we delay the onset of lactic acidosis by an average of 16.7%. And when he told me that, and he was all excited, I said, "Well, is 16.7% good?" He said, "Good." He said, "There's nothing in the world that will even delay lactic acidosis by 1%. He said, "It's giving our runners 2 additional kilometers before they start building lactic acid." Now, why is that so cool? Well, lactic acid, as you know, breaks down the muscle cells, and that's why you get sore. That's one reason you get stiff. And it is the primary thing you need to recover from at the end of the event. So a marathoner might take 2 weeks to recover, but yet on our product, they find themselves sometimes recovering in 2 or 3 days, fully recovered. Well, now we know one of the reasons is they're not producing as much lactic acid, so they're not experiencing the destruction of the cell. And of course, we will look at Bill Gillespie's amazing feat on our product in just a little bit. But the fact that we have TruShield, before we had TruShield, no professional team in the United States could endorse the product to their players because it wasn't, quote, NSF certified. And now that the NFL and Major League Baseball have accepted TruShield as a testing facility for their athletes and for lab results to make, anti-drug results and so on. If you now carry that certification, any pro athlete, Olympic bound, any pro athlete in baseball or football, and it will spread to every sport. Now, what will happen is as athletes begin to use this, they will see a difference in their performance. They'll see a difference in their mental stamina. They'll see a difference in their physical endurance, and they'll see a tremendous difference in their recovery after their weekly workouts, as well as recovery after their events. So it delays the onset of lactic acidosis. It also delays the onset and progression of both physical fatigue and mental fatigue. 80% of all accidents in sports occur because people become fatigued, either mentally or physically. And so when you can delay that fatigue factor or even make it so they don't get fully fatigued in a sport, the nice thing about our product is they can take it before a game, for example, and if they start getting fatigued after an hour, they can swish it again and come right back to where they were. So athletes love us, but always afraid, because if you are caught with any banned substance in professional sports, you risk being suspended, you risk being fined, and if it's severe, you could even be thrown out of the sport. So they're always, and they've been warned by the professional teams, do not take anything that we don't tell you you can take. And if it didn't have that NSF certification, they couldn't take it. Well, now they've accepted TruShield alongside of NSF as a qualified certifier. So this is a very big deal for us. And you say, yeah, but I don't have any pro athletes. You don't have to, because as the word gets out, and someday you'll see guys on the sideline doing this, you know there's going to be commentary on it. So down the road, you will get all the blessing. Plus, you'll be able to say it's now used in professional sports and by potential Olympians and Olympians. So that's pretty cool. You'll be able to say that. Okay, so what do we have? For those of you that are new, I'm going to share a little bit about glutathione. Let's see. I guess we always have new people, so I'm going to go through the whole routine, but I'll do it faster than normal. Glutathione is the most important molecule in life. It's right there with oxygen. Now, you run out of oxygen, we'll say for 7 minutes, and all of a sudden your brain starts to die, your heart starts to die, and pretty soon you'll be dead. On the other hand, you run out of glutathione, you may not be dead in 8 minutes, but you'll be dead in 10. So maybe you get an extra 2 minutes. But glutathione performs, get this, unlike oxygen, over 400 functions in your body. It's amazing. It's really God's gift. You know, glutathione isn't easy for the cell to make. Every cell in your body manufactures glutathione. You have 37 trillion cells, give or take a few, and every one of those is a glutathione factory. You actually have 37 trillion factories operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week inside your body. Now, glutathione is not an easy thing to put together. It requires a 100-step sequential step. That means 1, 2, 3 in sequence, 100 sequential step electrochemical process to take these 3 amino acids or peptides, glycine, glutamic acid, and L-cysteine, and electrochemically sew them together into one molecule. That's the good news. It is amazing, and we'll talk about why it's amazing. Unfortunately, here's the bad news. It declines as we age. It declines based on disease states, injuries, activity. For example, when you work out, it takes a pretty good dip, and then a few hours later, it's back to normal. So it takes this dip, but what happens in that dip? Well, it might not be a pretty thing, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So that's bad news. It does decline. It declines as we age by 8 to 15%. So I just turned 77 a few weeks ago. And so that means my factories, glutathione factories in my body, turn out 60% less glutathione than they manufactured when I was 20 years old. And as they manufacture less, there's great studies, but one of them in particular that I love. By the way, glutathione is the most studied molecule in medical science. Right now, there's 196,000 published studies. If you took all the medical studies on all the other antioxidants combined, vitamin C, vitamin E, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, take all those, combine them together, they don't equal glutathione together. Vitamin C is the second most studied. That comes in around 75,000 published studies. Now, what does it do? Why is it so important? Well, let's start with the most important thing first, and we'll work down from there. First of all, there's no oxygen transfer without it. You take that nice deep breath of air, it gets into your lungs, and that's where it would stay. It would never get into your circulation. Why? When your body makes hemoglobin, the red blood cell, it contains iron, the hemoglobin does. And iron can be in there at a +2 charge or a +3. If it's a +3, it has to be reduced to a +2 for the red blood cell to bind with oxygen and deliver oxygen. Well, it can't do it when there's a +3 charge. So it has to be reduced. The only reduction agent for the iron in glutathione, the iron in hemoglobin is glutathione. So without glutathione, there's no oxygen transfer. Take that nice deep breath, and it'll be probably pretty close to your last. Anyway, because it's not going to circulate. Brain will die, heart will die, all your tissues will die. Okay, so that's pretty important, and that's one most doctors don't realize. When I say that, when I'm giving lectures to medical groups, they say, really? It really does that, I say. And I can't point to the studies, but I was mentored by a guy, you can look him up, named Dr. Herbert Nagasawa. He died at 97 last year. And he was professor of medicinal chemistry and toxicology at University of Minnesota. And at the same time was the United States top-ranked medical scientist. They rank him, and this one he was senior career research scientist, and that's as high as you can get. And he became enthralled with glutathione over 50 years ago. And he, like so many other molecular biologists, discovered that it is the key to the most important aspects of your life, like how long you're going to live, whether or not you get sick. If you get sick, how fast will you recover? Will you recover? That's dependent on glutathione. Are you going to get sick or die from all of the poisons that your liver extracts from your blood? Are you going to be able to process alcohol, for example? We know alcohol poisons the liver, but so does acetaminophen, Tylenol. Acetaminophen's in most cold medications, a lot of sleep medications. It is one of the most common additives pharmaceutically to other pharmaceuticals. So your liver is loading up on acetaminophen without you even knowing it. And acetaminophen caused, last I looked, it might be a lot more than that now, but years ago, it was putting over 100,000 people in the emergency rooms with liver failure a year. And even the 80% that survived, 20% of those would die, 80% would survive. Of that 80%, 90% would have permanent liver damage, and 80% would have permanent kidney damage. Neither one of those is a good thing. Well, glutathione can cleanse the liver, detoxify it from acetaminophen, as well as just about anything else. So glutathione is a primary detoxifier of your body, of your cells. Why is that important? Well, 95%, this is according to Dr. Dean Jones of Emory University, a brilliant well-published microbiologist. He said 95% of all cancers gain traction in the human body because of the broken mitochondrial DNA. What breaks the mitochondrial DNA is the chemical load in the cell. Everybody on this call has at least 200 industrial chemicals in your body right now. And ultimately, that can break down the mitochondrial DNA. When that happens, then the cell is at risk for mutating and multiplying. Something else that can break the mitochondrial DNA are free radicals, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So Dean Jones made a statement to a cancer research symposium, and it went something like this. I'll quote it almost verbatim. He said, if we want to prevent cancer in people, we must find ways to raise glutathione in the cells. Then he said, let me explain. And he says, 95% of all cancers gain traction from the broken mitochondrial DNA. What breaks them is the chemical load in the cell. Glutathione is the detoxifier of the cell. How does it detoxify? Glutathione is made up of 3 peptides, like I said, sewn together electrochemically. Those peptides are L-cysteine or cysteine, glutamic acid, and glycine. And the cysteine part of that molecule has a sulfhydryl arm. And that sulfhydryl arm is real sticky. It sticks to the chemicals, and its job is to render those chemicals harmless, neutralize them. And nothing else does that. Glutathione does that. So the second big purpose of glutathione, the function, first one was oxygen transfer. This one is detoxification. And by detoxifying, it becomes the primary protector of your mitochondrial DNA. Incredibly important. What else does it do? Well, it is the detoxification. The most obvious one, what it's known for, is it is your body's master antioxidant. It's the most abundant. Your body has more glutathione than any other antioxidant. CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase, much of those are in much smaller amounts compared to glutathione. But that's not why it's called the master antioxidant. It's called the master antioxidant because it is the only antioxidant that can neutralize any kind of free radical. You see, there's a spectrum of free radicals that we all have. Some are based from oxygen, some are based from the nitrogen in our body, some come from the hydrogen in our body. And but all antioxidants except glutathione are monofocused, which means they can only take out one type and can't take out the other. So vitamin E can take out that one, but it leaves these bad boys. Vitamin C can take out that one and it leaves those guys, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, catalase. They're all monofocused. Glutathione is the master antioxidant because it can sequester or neutralize all free radicals, regardless of structure. We have free radicals today that our parents and grandparents never dreamed of. When you use that, let's see, where did I see it? Maybe, oh, there it is, way over there. I'll leave it there. When you use that cell phone, even when you don't use it, when it's next to your body or whatever, it is receiving microwaves from the towers, from the 5G towers. Those microwaves enter your body, and if they react with the nitrogen in your body, then that creates a terrible free radical called peroxynitrite. Peroxynitrite lives 1 billion times longer than any oxygen-based free radicals. It lives so long it can actually transfer from one cell to another. That's terrible. Guess what it does? It directly attacks the mitochondrial DNA. And when that breaks, the cell is at risk for mutating. Dr. Mehmet Oz, who is now the second highest ranked health official in our federal government, but he was a Harvard heart surgeon, had his own TV show that Oprah Winfrey actually launched, and it was one of her shows, but it was called Dr. Oz. And he made this statement years ago, long before I got into glutathione. He said, he started the show this way with this statement: glutathione, it's the most important antioxidant you've never heard of. It's what protects you or helps protect you from the diseases you fear the most. Of course, that includes cancer, neurological disorders, degenerative neurological disorders, pulmonary disorders, diabetes, kidney disease, on and on, cardiovascular disorder, all of those. Here's what happens. At 20 years old, your body, unless you're in some sort of disease state or injury, your body is producing this maximum amount of glutathione. As it declines, it opens the gateway to these 78 disease classes. How does it do that? Well, first of all, the cells don't live as long. They start to die faster. Secondly, and primarily, the inflammation forms inside the cell. Now, the cell is more complex by billions of times than any mechanical thing that mankind has built. The most complex structure ever built by mankind was the Saturn V rocket that stood 32 stories high. And but it also contained the lunar lander and the lunar orbiter. Put all that together, it took 35,000 engineers 8 years to design and build. Every cell in your body is millions of times more complex than the Saturn V system. So many interworking systems, synergistic, interworking. I mean, it blows my mind when I think of it, how beautifully. You know, David, who wrote the Psalms, said, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your body, I used to say it's a miracle. No, it's 37 trillion and counting miracles. And I could really get into the body, but I know everybody wants to hear about glutathione. So anyway, glutathione is the primary protector of every cell in your body, manufactured by the cell. What creates all that pollution in the cell? You won't even believe this. Every cell in your body has little motors called mitochondria. And those mitochondria take their food and convert it to energy. And that energy that you get is oxygen-based, and it creates an abundance of oxygen that the cell can't handle. The cell doesn't know what to do with. And that creates what's called oxidative stress. Oxidative stress then creates more free radicals. More free radicals create more oxidative stress. It's a vicious cycle. And glutathione interrupts that cycle. How does it do it? Well, a free radical wants to steal, its scavengers, they want to steal an electron from the cell. And when they steal that, it causes oxidative stress, it accelerates the aging and the death of the cell, and it produces inflammation inside the cell. You know, people that died of COVID died from pneumonia. You know how they got the pneumonia? There was this massive rush called the cytokine storm of inflammation in the lining of the lungs. And that played host to pneumonia, and it was pneumonia that killed most people during the COVID pandemic. And well, glutathione fights that kind of thing in a number of ways. First of all, it reduces the oxidative stress that creates the inflammation that created the cytokine storm. And there's been articles on that. Most people that died, if not all, had low glutathione levels. Your glutathione levels, like I say, not only reduce as you age, but different disease states will, if you have, for example, COPD in your lungs, the lining of your lungs, which would normally be glutathione rich, are now depleted. They don't run out completely, but they don't have enough because the lungs have to work harder to get the same amount of oxygen into the blood. And that harder work creates oxidative stress and uses up the glutathione it's manufacturing. I mean, it's amazing how all these things work. So an antioxidant deals with the free radical by donating one of its electrons to the free radical. And when that donation takes place, it sequesters or neutralizes, captures the free radical. So antioxidant defense is critical. Now, of course, you've heard of vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin D, CoQ10, superoxide dismutase, and so on. Most people had not heard of glutathione until somebody told them about it. But glutathione is the main protector. Now, once an antioxidant donates its free electron to sequester, neutralize a free radical, it's nothing more than trash in the cell. It has spent its purpose. It's done. It had one bullet in the chamber, it fired it, and now it's just an empty gun. Glutathione, here's one of the miracles. It recycles, it's the recycling agent for vitamin C and vitamin E, which is why they are so good when you take them as far as helping you. But here's the miracle part. It recycles itself. It's the only antioxidant that can recycle itself. And guess what it does? It uses one of its 3 amino acids, cysteine, to do the recycling. Cysteine is the recycling agent of glutathione. Guess what our product has that no other product has? We get both glutathione and cysteine in the cell at the same time. And we've recently changed the ratio. It's not in circulation, but it'll be in circulation hopefully this fall, early in the fall or by the end of the fall. We have been able to change the ratio of cysteine to glutathione to maximize the half-life of the molecule. What's half-life mean? Well, initially, for example, if you got an infusion of glutathione, when it gets out of the blood and into the cell, that's when the half-life begins. And unfortunately, with IV glutathione, it loses some of its half-life as it's rubbing against the cell to get into the cell. But the half-life is when the cell is at the halfway point to its death. And it's becoming along the way less and less potent. Now, the half-life normally for glutathione is between 1 hour and 4 hours, depending the cells. But if we average the half-life in all 37 trillion cells, then it would average out to 1 hour and a half, 90 minutes. Well, by changing the ratio, bringing in more cysteine into our product, theoretically, and now the people that have tried it, we've confirmed it, theoretically, it is tripling the time it takes to get to the half-life. So instead of 90 minutes, it would average 270 minutes. And the people who've tested this iteration of our product, and like I say, it'll be in circulation in the fall, they go, wow, this lasts so long. I only have to take 1 serving a day or 2 servings, depending on what their body needs. It's really cool. So free radicals, the greatest defense against free radicals is glutathione. And it's the only one that can handle any type of free radical, including peroxynitrite. Nothing else can sequester and neutralize peroxynitrite. And so in our day and age of cell towers everywhere, it's amazing how many they are. We really need this product. Okay, what else does glutathione do? Antioxidant detoxifier. Oh, it is the protector of the immune system. The immune system is designed to protect you, but glutathione is designed to protect the immune cells. If you have, if there's a bacterial or viral insult to your body where they invade your body, the immune system creates the T cells that are the assassins, and B cells are also assassins, but T cells are the primary assassin. And those T cells target the bacteria or virus and try to kill it. Problem is the bacteria and virus is reproducing explosively, rapidly. If you have low glutathione levels, guess what? Your T cells can only reproduce slowly. Guess who wins? The virus or bacteria. So you get sick, you stay sick long, or maybe you don't recover at all. All of that is related to the T cells' success in destroying the bacteria or virus. And how fast your T cells reproduce is based on the available glutathione. So glutathione can make it so that they reproduce much more rapidly and you have a fighting chance. There was an article that was published that basically defended that people with high glutathione levels didn't die during the pandemic. They didn't get as sick and they didn't die. They never went in the cytokine storm because less inflammation, right? So it's really important. It declines as we age. If you're 50 years old, your body makes 10, 20, 30% less. Is that right? 40, 50, 30, 40, 50. Yeah. A minimum of 30% less glutathione. But the demand for the 400 functions, the attacks of the free radicals, every cell in your body is attacked by 20,000 free radicals a day. Michael, you want to show them what 20,000 looks like? Here we go. There it is. That's 20,000 people. So if you were on that basketball court all by yourself, it would be you against the 20,000 attacking you. That's what every cell in your body, all 37 trillion of them, go through every day. Every brain cell, every heart cell, they are vastly outnumbered 20,000 to 1 during the day. Now, if you took 5 days, look at what happens. You're attacked by, in 5 days, 100,000 free radicals. So it's your cell against 100,000 over a 5-day period. How do any of our cells survive? The answer is glutathione is the primary protector of the cell. Okay, so why don't we all go out and buy glutathione capsules? You can buy them at any store. The answer is because they don't work very well. I'm not saying they don't work at all, but any capsules you buy, if they're not coated with a liposome, they break up in the stomach and they never make it into the cell. If they are coated, if it's liposomal glutathione, that liposome is a coating. It's like, here's the glutathione molecule. It's a coating that protects it through the stomach. But the problem is that liposomal coating of fat, that's two problems. Number one, it's too big to get into the cell. To get into the cell, the average human cell is 100 nanometers in diameter. Put it in perspective, one strand of hair is 80,000 nanometers. One cell isn't 1,000 nanometers, it's 100 nanometers, tiny. The pore in the cell, the pores, are only 10 nanometers. Well, the smallest liposome you can get on a glutathione product makes the size between 55 and 300 nanometers. So what happens? It simply sits on top of the cell. Now, if there's enough energy from various sources, it can push some of that liposome as it starts to dissolve, it can push it into the cellular wall, the membrane. But that's not the nucleus of the cell. That's not even the cytoplasm. And to be effective, you got to get into the cytoplasm. And if you could get into the nucleus, that's where the miracles start. And we believe we're getting into the nucleus based on what we've seen, based on some studies that we can't publish because we have proof. That's why we see the things we see. And we see miracles almost in every aspect. So glutathione, longevity, human performance, physically, mentally, emotionally, all relates to glutathione levels. So how you go through your day. When we first developed this technology called Hydrostat in 2018, I knew if we really had what we thought we had, we'd make a big difference with athletes. So I sent some out to a dear friend of mine named Bill Gillespie. Bill was the strength and conditioning coach for the Seattle Seahawks. Later went to his alma mater to fulfill a promise, but he's always been an amateur weightlifter. And Bill, when he was 49 years old in 2008, set the world record in the bench press. That's that red line. Yeah, thank you, Michael. 804 pounds or about 340 kilos. And then for the next 10 years, the amount he could lift went down. I called Bill in 2018 to tell him about this. And I said, how you doing? He said, not good. He said, I used to be able to lift heavy 4 times a week. Because of my lean muscle loss that everybody experiences as the age, I can now only lift heavy once a week. He said a lifetime of weightlifting, he started at the age of 14, has resulted in so much inflammation. I hurt all day, and he works 12 to 16 hours a day. And I hurt so bad that when I go to bed, I don't sleep well. Then I wake up early the next morning, get down to the training facility and start working with the athletes again. And he said, my bench press is in the toilet. I said, well, what's the toilet look like? And he said, I can only lift about a little over 700 pounds bench press. I said, Bill, 59 years old, 700 pounds is a lot of weight. He said, yeah, it's a world record, but I don't get to compete with the elite guys anymore. I said, well, we're going to change things. We're going to reduce inflammation by reducing oxidative stress with the product I'm going to send you. We're going to see you develop more lean muscle, and I think everything's going to change. So here's what happened. Bingo. First 6 months, his bench press went to 915 pounds, a new world record. As a 60-year-old, he went to 1,050 pound. And then as a 62-year-old, at his last meet of his career, he bench pressed 1,129.8 pounds, a new world record, the weight of a concert grand piano and the piano bench on top of it. 512 kilos for those of you on the metric system. And how did that happen? When you reduce oxidative stress, every function, every cell, every tissue, every organ, every joint, everything performs better. Inflammation obstructs cellular performance. You lower oxidative stress, you're going to lower inflammation, and Bill was living proof of it. And so all of the athletes I put on went nuts. They never wanted to run out. Bill, still a dear friend, still uses our product every single day. In fact, he hands it out. He was just at a big conference of strength and conditioning coaches, and he had me send him a lot of product. And he says, I just want you to know I'm not going to use it. I said, Bill, you can use whatever you want. I said, I'm the owner. I get it for free. And of course, my wife debates that because we put so much money in. It calculates out to hundreds of dollars per bottle. But anyway, I basically get it free. I don't have to pay for it anymore. And so I sent it to Bill, and he was handing it out like crazy to all of his friends that are strength and conditioning coaches for professional teams, football, baseball, and so on. So you're not an athlete. If you're an athlete, by the way, you want to swish 5 minutes before a workout, 5 minutes before an event. And if it's a very long event, like a triathlon or something that lasts hours and hours, you would swish 5 minutes before and swish every hour of the event, and then swish immediately afterwards. You'll not only blow yourself away on how much better you perform, you'll recover much, much faster. Okay, so what else does it do? Well, one of our athletes was breaking all of her records. She was in a 100-mile bike race. This is 2018. And she got in an accident, got airborne, hit the pavement so hard it knocked her out, broke her helmet. Her face got really bad from the pavement, abrasions and road rash and everything. And in the hospital, the plastic surgeon said it was going to take 5 weeks to clear. Well, she was hospitalized Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. She went home Tuesday night and she thought, hey, this stuff is small molecules, small particles, because I explained to her. And she poured some on a cotton ball and she put it on the affected areas of her face, once on Tuesday night, then 3 times on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. By Sunday, her face was completely clear, not a scar, not a mark. 5 weeks of healing in 5 days. It was amazing. And so when I saw the before and after, which she sent me as soon as she had it, we decided to try a topical. So I put some in spray bottles, sent them out to a few friends, said, spray your face 5 times a day. Do that for 8 weeks. Send us the before you start and after. Here's the first picture that came back, and if we can zoom on. This lady is a dear friend. She owns a farm, lives on a farm, works the farm, and she was 58 years old here. And I got that before and after, and I sent it to my former formulator, who was the head formulator of the company that created Botox, Allergan. And when he saw the picture, he said, Steve, she's had a facelift. I said, John, she hasn't. He said, there's no way a topical product can do that. I said, ours does. And he says, look at how it's opened up. Look at, Steve, that's impossible. I said, that's what we do. He says, how do you do it? So I explained it to him and he goes, wow, you have something nobody else in the world's even dreamed of yet. And I said, yeah, I know. So next we'll start going through a few of these. I was only 71. That was 6 years ago. And I sprayed my right hand 4 to 5 times a day. Didn't spray my left hand, and look what it did to the skin. I mean, it was amazing to me. Next, it's an 84-year-old lady. I asked her how often she sprayed her face. She said, I have swish bottles around the house. I have spray bottles around the house. Anytime I pass a spray bottle, I spray. So she says, I have no idea how many times, but I did it a lot and I swished a lot. Well, 84 years old, and that was in 4 weeks. Here's another 84-year-old. She said, I used to have old lady legs. Now I have young lady legs. She sprayed her legs. Look at that, 10 weeks. And talk about if she had to go out in a bathing suit. Okay, so this lady is an esthetician. She has her own skincare salon in Miami, Florida. And she couldn't wait 8 weeks. She said, she sent Ryan and I this after 8 days. She said, Steve, where did my pores go? Look how much smoother, how much brighter, tighter. I mean, Steve, I've been in skincare my whole adult life. There's nothing like this. And we said, we know. Next. Okay, this lady showed up in our office. She's 60 years old. She had been on the product for 6 months. This is after 1 month, and you can already see what we do. We tighten, brighten. We brighten the skin as much as we tighten it, and we smooth it, minimize the appearance of the pores, and it's younger, and the person always looks younger. So this lady, 60 years old, she showed up in our office. She had been on it 6 months. That's what she looked like. We thought she was like 42 to 45, Aaron and I, our CEO. Let's go ahead and look at her before and after. There you go. That was 6 months of consistent use, and she looks like a new person. Brighter, tighter. This guy's 67. Look at that. I mean, that's in 8 weeks. That's amazing. Or no, 6 weeks. Wow. That's amazing. Yeah, it works for men too. That's mainly dehydration. Next. Okay, she is young. She only used it for 10 days when she sent that picture. But look at her pores. It's evened out her skin tone. It's minimized the pores. I mean, and it's brightened her skin. Next. She's 80 in this picture. She's now 86 or 87. And that was 3 weeks, by the way. This lady was a smoker, 8 weeks. Next. That's 6 days. That's pretty incredible. Next. Okay, she's in Nigeria. Her daughter, a doctor, gave her the product. Now that blackness comes from inadequate management of the melanin in the skin. Well, guess what happened? It normalized in 4 weeks and the blackness in the upper half of her face went away. Next. Which amazed her and her daughter. That's sun damage in Australia. Next. Okay, look at this guy. This is 8 months and he's 94 years old. And he said, I love the new look, but more than that, I feel like the guy on the right instead of the guy on the left, and it feels so much better. Next. And this lady, she was funny. We met her in Hungary. I said, how often did you spray? She said, just like you said, 5 times a day for 7 weeks. No, I said 8 weeks, but the other lady, first one we showed you, was after 7 weeks. And so that's what she did. This guy's 85. He's in Canada. Next. That guy is 76, and that was in a year, but look at how much better. 12 weeks, there went the crepe effect. That was 1 week in Dallas, Texas. He was only 45 though, so he almost doesn't count. Next. Okay, we can stop. I think we've made the point. So why do we show you the pictures? Not only because we have the best skincare in the world. Look up before and afters for any skincare line you want. It's real easy to look up. And here's what you'll be doing at their before and afters. Oh, yeah, I can see that little line there. That disappeared in the after. You don't have to squint or get close to see our before and afters. But we show you that not just because we want you to see what our skincare does, but the same biochemical action that is making that incredible difference in the cells, skin cells. You know, your skin is your largest organ of living tissue once you get through the 23 layers of the epidermis. And the same biochemical activity that does that in the skin, oh, there goes my dog, does it in every tissue, every cell, every organ in your body. So it's not just the guy who said, I feel like the guy on the right, he really did. Why? Same effect was happening in his lungs, in his brain, in his heart, in his muscles, in his tendons. It's system-wide. And so here's the one problem that I have. I can only reach a few people in a year, relatively few. We're in 74 countries. Whether or not somebody gets the life-changing impact of what we have is not up to me. It's up to our NUMI family members in the 74 countries we're in. So whatever your country in, and you say, well, I don't know that many people, don't worry about it. You reach one person and change a life. If you change one life, you've changed a family. You change a family, you've changed generations. Nana, not now. We're good. Here, I'm going to blur my background so you're not distracted by my, well, we're almost done anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter. But we need you, and we work real hard to serve you. We have the probably the most generous compensation plan in the industry. Why do I say that? Number one, we pay dollar for dollar. Many pay 90 cents or 80 cents or 75 cents on the dollar. We also pay out about 50%, which is a huge amount. Most of the companies that I've looked at pay out anywhere from 30 to 35% is normal. So we value. Nana, come on. We have about 30 turkeys that love our property. And if Nana's indoors, they come strolling down. If I let her out, she'll chase them and they go nuts. They fly away. So I better quit and let my dog out. I hope you all have a great weekend. Yeah, Nana hopes it too. She's past the 1-year-old mark. Nana, come on. Anyway, she is a wonderful Newfoundland. Hallie and I took her to the lake yesterday because they're water dogs. They have webbed feet, that webbing between the toes. And instead of dog paddling, they actually do breaststroke under the water. So they save a lot of people. So we took her to a lake, and Hallie walked out into the lake, and Nana follows her and is real excited, and the tail's wagging until her feet couldn't touch. And then she turned around and walked back. You were a wimp, Nana. You were a disgrace to your race. Yes, you were. But we have one of my sons has a golden retriever who loves to swim. So we're going to take them both out at the same time. And it's her best friend. She'll follow that golden retriever anywhere. So the golden retriever will go out. The only way Nana can follow her is if she starts to swim. So that's how we're going to teach her to swim. God bless you. Thank you for that nice sign, Jackie. We love you and hope you have a great weekend. Remember, God loves you more than your mom loves you, and your mom loves you probably more than any other human being. And so enjoy living God's love moment by moment this week, and you'll be happier than you can imagine. See ya.
Beautiful. Thank you, Steve. Ladies and gentlemen, as we wrap up, Steve's referred to sports during the presentation quite a bit. If you don't know, we have a Facebook group, an official one run by the company. It's the only one run by the company for you to invite anyone to look at. That's New Me, New You. If you scroll down there, we have Steve's session that was just done live, playback there, so you can send other people. Plenty of testimonials, including some sports people. In fact, I just wanted to draw your attention to this one because Janessa Curtis has just become a world champion powerlifter, breaking world records again, multiple times, and that was also on our product. So you're going to see oodles of testimonials in here and quite a lot of sports ones as well. We would encourage anyone who's online today, if you haven't already done it with your own story, why isn't your face with your Numi testimonial in that group? So we'd love to see it. We have a testimonial competition happening at the moment, and you might be the lucky winner. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. We'll see you on the next call. All the best.